Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all our participants, dignitaries, and our esteemed guest speakers to the online seminar on Commodity Market Drivers and Outlook for 2021, organized by the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry in association with MCX IPF. All participants will be muted to avoid any disturbances during the course of this session. To consume less bandwidth and have clarity, you may like to stop video streaming at your end. A very important thing to be said is please post your relevant queries and your feedback regarding this session in the chat section so that the same can be addressed during the Q&A session and we can improve upon our sessions with the help of the feedbacks received from you. So as we begin the session, may I request Mr. Juzar Khorakiwala, Vice President, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to present the welcome address. Over to you, Mr. Khorakiwala.
Thank you, Selvi. Good afternoon to all respected speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you. On behalf of IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry and MCX IPF, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome each one of you to this timely seminar on commodity market drivers and outlook for 2021. A warm welcome and special thanks to our speakers, Mrs. Vandana Bharti, Mr. T. Nanshekar, and our own Mr. G. Chandrasekhar. Like in a 2020 cricket match, the year 2020, we saw fortunes change rapidly. But in the end, the year 2020 has defeated us all. The entire world, including our nation, went through a turmoil. For India, 2020 turned out to be a deeply unsettling from an economic perspective due to the unprecedented negative effects of COVID-19. It has not spared the commodity markets as well. Indeed, the markets were buffeted by several conflicting signals. Some gained, some lost. Whether as a producer, as a processor, or as an industrial consumer or trader, those with exposure to commodities have to constantly monitor the market. This is especially important for those who take forward trading positions. Therefore, market outlook or a view of the likely behavior of market becomes important. While several drivers impact the market, a study of the supply and demand fundamentals is key to have a clear view about the unfolding future. The new year 2021 brings new hope. Better health for mankind and improved economic performance among nations is expected in 2021 as vaccines go to the market. Thankfully, the downside risk to the economy was somewhat mitigated by policy interventions from the Reserve Bank of India and our government. For commodities, what are the key factors to look out for 2021? What are the key market drivers and how are they likely to pan out? Will China continue to lead the recovery as it has done in Q4 2020? Importantly, what is the outlook for major commodity markets in 2021? Let's wait to hear from our expert panelists. Before I conclude, I'd like to say a few words about IMC. Established in 1907 and having its headquarters in Mumbai, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry is an apex chamber of commerce, trade and industry in the Western region, with its membership base of over 5,000 members and over 150 trade associations affiliated to it. Together, it represents the advocates interests of over 400,000 business and industry establishments across the country. From diverse sectors of industry, it has 26 industry-specific committees of experts to which it provides policy inputs and recommendations at various levels of government and organizes activities where eminent business and government leaders engage with its members on a wide range of issues to create environment for sustainable economic development. The theme of the chamber this year is Reboot, Reform, Research, as these three factors are going to be crucial for India and other economies globally reeling under the impact of the pandemic. IMC is a SEBI accredited institution for conducting various awareness programs. Once again, I welcome you all to this very interesting event. I'm sure insight from the speakers on the market dynamics would benefit to all participants and would go back enriched. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Korakiwala. May I now request our esteemed speaker, Mr. G. Chandrasekhar, Director, IMC ERTF and Economic Advisor, IMC ERTF, to address the participants. Over to you, Mr. Chandrasekhar.
All right, thank you. I'll start screen sharing. I have a presentation.
Just a minute,
I have a
sir.
presentation to make.
Just a minute. Okay, you can start.
Okay, yeah, please. One second. I'll say okay. And but where is it? How do I
So
screen share? Yes, it's here. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Okay, all right. Done. Okay.
Yes.
Do I
Screen share.
do I go full screen or
Yes. The slideshow.
slideshow? That's right. Perfect.
Slide.
Thanks, LV.
Welcome.
Okay, let's take off. Given the fact that, given the stature of my co-panelists, Vandana Bharati and Gnanashekhar, I don't think we need a moderator for this session. But yet, I would be an informal moderator because my co-panelists are experts, hands-on experience in commodity markets, and it's going to be very interesting to hear their views. So let me start by talking about global commodity market drivers and outlook for 2021. One housekeeping instruction to my co-panelists is we are not going to discuss prices or price outlook. We will discuss market direction, drivers of the market, what can impact the market, etc., but not price outlook per se. Okay. So let me take off. This is a favorite slide of mine, which I've been showing for years in many conferences. There are 5 major drivers of global commodity markets, which every trader in commodities, every investor in the commodities market will have to track to be successful. The first one is economic growth. There is a strong positive correlation between global economic growth and commodity consumption, or any country's economic growth and commodity consumption. For if we are able to track the growth trajectory of countries and of the global economy, we will get a reasonably good idea about commodity consumption and obviously by implication commodity market outlook. Therefore, we need to start tracking global economic growth. And this year, in 2020, because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown, there has been a lot of debate whether the recovery will be U-shaped, V-shaped, W-shaped, etc. But most economists are now coming to a consensus that it's not going to be U, V, or W. It's most likely K-shaped. It's going to be a K-shaped recovery. There are some economies which will start reviving faster, and some economies will revive more slowly. At the same time, even within economy, there are some sectors which will grow more rapidly, and other sectors will grow less rapidly, and that's the K-shaped recovery that economists are talking about. The second factor that we need to track is geopolitics. Geopolitical developments refer to political instability, warlike situation, etc. And therefore, geopolitics immediately, if it is centered around the Midwest, it immediately impacts the crude oil market for fear of supply disruption of crude oil. And crude oil is such an essential commodity these days for the whole world. It's a universal intermediate, and any disruption to crude oil supplies would certainly impact economic activity. And therefore, geopolitical developments need to be tracked very closely. The third one, and geopolitics would also include, for example, the trade war, the US-China trade war, which we have tracked over the last 2 years, would also be a part of this geopolitics. The US Iran standoff would be a part of the geopolitics, etc. Anything that has a political implication will fall under this geopolitics. And geopolitical instability certainly impact commodity markets in multiple ways. And therefore, it's important to track. The third factor to track very clearly is monetary policy. Monetary policy, if we have a tight monetary policy, that's high rates of interest and low liquidity, it will actually not allow commodity prices to rise. But low rates of interest and massive liquidity infusion in the economy will propel commodity prices higher. Too much money will start chasing commodities. That's precisely the situation we are at the moment in. For example, in the United States, we have near zero interest rate. The Trump administration pumped in at least $3 trillion into the economy as stimulus. And the new administration, Biden, is talking about $1.9 trillion fiscal stimulus package. And therefore, all this is going to make a huge amount of money available in the marketplace, and a part of it will obviously flow into the stock market, will flow into commodities, etc. I think they will get invested. So currently, what we are witnessing is actually liquidity-driven commodity boom, and therefore monetary policy becomes important when we look at commodity market. Then the next one is currency. Of course, the impact of currency on commodities is a no-brainer. You take our own country, if the rupee weakens, it'll make imports more expensive, but it'll make exports more attractive. Whereas if the rupee were to strengthen, it'll make imports cheaper, but it'll be unattractive for exporters, etc. And particularly when the dollar weakens, as it is currently, substantially weaker than it was a year ago. When the dollar weakens, it actually props commodity prices up. Those commodities which are traded in dollar terms, it props those commodity prices up. For monetary, therefore, currency factor is something all of us can't wish away. Currency is something which will impact commodity prices. So we need to track currency movement, whether it is euro dollar or dollar Indian rupee, yen. I mean, these are major currencies, and of course the Chinese yuan, which is also obviously impacting global prices. The fifth factor to track is weather. This year, when I say this year, in the last say 4 months or so, from the last quarter of 2020, the world is facing a weather phenomenon called La Nina. La Nina brings excess rainfall in certain regions and dry conditions in certain other regions. It is the opposite of El Nino. El Nino brings dry conditions in certain regions and wet conditions in other regions. We are facing La Nina conditions, as a result of which South America is actually facing dry conditions. And parts of even North America has faced dry conditions. Whereas South Asia and Southeast Asia has actually faced wet conditions. Okay, therefore, this is a phenomenon which obviously impacts agriculture, and it has already impacted agriculture. Wheat market is tight, corn market is tight, coffee, cocoa markets, it's tightening, etc. And therefore, across commodities, there's a big impact of La Nina, which obviously will fade at some point of time, possibly after March 2021, and therefore there'll be a certain impact once it starts to fade. But we need to track all this. We need to track economic growth, geopolitics, monetary policy, currency, and weather. And in the sixth bullet point, why have I said question mark? Simply because funds, speculative funds or investment funds also play a big role in driving commodity markets. And let me give out a secret. Most of the speculative funds actually track the previous 5 factors or 5 drivers, and then they take a call whether the market is going to go up or go down, and then take a decision about investing their funds either going long or going short, etc. etc. Therefore, it's important for all those who have exposure to commodity markets, particularly globalized commodity markets, to track these 5 drivers. Next one. So let's quickly go into what happened. After the 2020 pandemic hit, we saw economic constriction. There was actually negative growth in a number of regions, contraction and constricted growth is what we found. But 2021, there are great hopes that growth will revive. And the recovery, as I said earlier, is most likely to be uneven. It will be K-shaped. Some economies will perform better, and some economies will be rather slow to recover. And therefore, growth and commodities have a positive correlation. Economic growth and commodity consumption have a positive correlation, and therefore tracking economic growth becomes extremely important to get a sense of the demand for commodities. Now, over the last 4 months, 3 months, China's economic activities have revived substantially, and China is now a ravenous consumer of a whole range of commodities, whether it is energy products or metals or agriculture. They have huge appetite for consumption, primarily because of the stimulus package that China has given. And therefore, Chinese demand is actually nearing the pre-COVID levels. What was in the last quarter of 2019, China is very close to that level. And therefore, this is a factor that is boosting demand. China is one single factor boosting demand, and therefore it has an impact on commodity prices. The next one, geopolitics, which has impacted the global value chain. Their supplies have been impacted, particularly energy products and gold are impacted by geopolitics. It creates risks and uncertainties, and therefore there's a tendency for speculative capital to go towards gold, because gold is a safe haven asset, and therefore gold prices start to rise. And if the geopolitical uncertainty or instability centers around the Midwest, obviously crude oil price starts to go up. Therefore, we saw how early March, April, May, crude oil prices actually collapsed in 2020, and after that they have started to recover. And from December onward, we've seen how the Brent prices have actually crossed $50 a barrel, with I think it's still possibly it has more upside potential. But at the moment, I don't see any major threat on the horizon to the global geopolitical situation. The possibility, there is a possibility that US and Iran may come to some kind of an understanding, which can potentially mean that oil supplies from Iran can resume. It's a possibility with the new. Whether the US-China trade war will worsen, we don't know. We need to wait and watch. And therefore, these are things which are actually unpredictable. Monetary policy, we know there has been a coordinated loosening across the world, whether it is the US Federal Reserve or the European Central Bank or the People's Bank of China, or even our own Reserve Bank of India, for that matter. They all have, in a coordinated fashion, expanded liquidity. This is called ultra loose monetary policy, or ultra accommodative monetary policy, and therefore it's pushed liquidity far higher than it used to be, and the interest rates are very low. But this policy, there are signals, will continue. The ultra loose monetary policy is most likely to continue definitely the whole of 2021. If there is a review, it could possibly be in the first quarter of 2022. And therefore, 2021, one must assume there will be enough liquidity for the market, liquidity in the economy in various countries, and which is what we are witnessing now. liquidity-driven commodity boom. Then the question we have to ask is, how long will this last? How long will this liquidity-driven commodity boom last? That's a big question which maybe we'll debate as we go along. Currency, yes. Most of the currencies around the world, particularly the dollar, has actually got terribly debased in the whole of 2020, primarily after huge stimulus packages were given, huge national debt has been incurred. The US dollar used to be a safe haven asset. People would buy actually dollar, but now because of very substantial weakening of the depreciation of the US dollar, the dollar's own safe haven appeal has waned. And this weaker dollar is actually propelling commodity prices higher. Particularly, dollar and emerging market currencies are negatively correlated. Therefore, when the dollar remains weak, it actually supports emerging market currencies. But once the dollar begins to gain strength, the emerging market currencies run the risk of weakening. Sorry. The last is the weather. Of course, we've spoken about it. It has, I'm so sorry. It has certainly hurt global output. It's corn, soybean, coffee, palm oil, etc. Supplies are tightening, but there is a demand surge. There was massive demand destruction in 2020 because of national lockdown and disruption to global value chain. But from the last quarter of 2020, demand is beginning to pick up. There is a lot of pent-up demand, which is now catching up. China is also driving this demand growth. Nations are building food stocks. So the pandemic has taught them a lesson not to trust well-established global value chains, and therefore they are building inventory. They are ensuring their food security. China is no exception. China is also building huge amount of inventory of commodities, which is now driven agri-commodity prices substantially higher, unimaginably higher. But I look at it this way: because agriculture commodity prices have gone up substantially, it is going to encourage greater planting of crops in the northern hemisphere starting April. Therefore, in the second half of the year, one can actually expect a big rebound in agriculture commodity production around the world, whether it's soybean or corn or cotton or palm oil or anything else. All commodities, there'll be a rebound in production. And therefore, when there is a rebound in production, obviously it will have an impact on availability, market, and prices, etc., etc. Therefore, in sum, my view is 2021 for commodity market, whether it's going to be agriculture commodities, will be a year of two halves, the first half and the second half. In the first half, the market's likely to remain tight and obviously remain firm. But in the second half, with improved availability, there'll be a softening of the market sentiment and prices. Vaccine availability has actually changed the entire sentiment. Once the reports about vaccine availability came out, probably a month or a month and a half ago, and people are now beginning to get vaccinated, the market sentiment is completely changed. From one of gloom, we are now the mood is actually one of very cautious optimism, which is very important. Therefore, first half of this year will see strong demand and fairly high prices, but in the second half of the year, supplies will normalize and prices will soften. At that point of time, the supply-demand fundamentals will catch up. Currently, the supply-demand fundamentals are in the sideline. It is liquidity and speculative capital which is driving the market. And in the second half of the year, fundamentals will catch up. And China is, of course, the country for all of us to monitor, because China, as I always said, is a mover and shaker of the global commodities market. I think this is the kind of outlook I have in mind for all our participants. I want to issue a disclaimer. I am a student of the market. I'm not a trader. I don't hold any position in any of the markets, either in the physical market or in the futures market, but I teach people how to trade. Thank you. Good luck. God bless. Stay blessed and stay safe. I will now invite, who should I invite? Let me call Vandana to share her thoughts on commodity market outlook.
So thank you, sir. It is always a pleasure to hear from you about the market and economy, and you have summarized in a very great way. And in fact, we have the same kind of view for this market, and just I would like to share my presentation here. I have made a presentation. Actually, my browser is preventing the access of share screen. So there is some issue.
Anita, do you have a presentation? Can you upload?
Yeah.
We have given you the rights. You can try it once again.
प्रॉब्लेम नाही जर का तू त्याला समोर भेटला की हँडल करता येत असेल तुला तर काय प्रॉब्लेम नाही एकदम बिंदास पण तुला असं वाटतं की समोर भेटला तर हँडल अजून कॉन्फिडन्स झाला की मग
Are you able to do it? Vandana ji?
Hello, Vandana ji.
No, actually, I am not able to do it. Can you play it? Share it. So it is. Anyway, I would like to start because I have collected some data for presentation, and what we have seen in 2020, that the first half was about the COVID and the fear about this market, and the second half was about the expectation of vaccination to reach in 2021, and the improvement we have seen because of that monetary and the physical policies and the interest rate low, and like the various effort. First time it was after 2008 that the entire world, they came together to protect their economy and to protect their people from this COVID-19. So it was a historic movement, historic time for the commodities and the entire world. But we have seen some kind of historic price movement in commodities market. First time it happened in the history that crude oil prices saw the negative pricing. So it was really a very difficult time for the commodity market, and because of that, we have seen lots of you can say that complaints, the thoughts about the market and all. So what happened in 2020? We have seen that some of the commodities, we have seen a knee-jerk reaction in the month of January in some commodities. So commodities, they behaved sector-wise, like it occurred in China. And in the month of March, it was it was announced as a pandemic by WHO. So major jerk we have seen in the month of March, and when WHO said it as a pandemic. But yes, we have seen that base metal counters, it was a counter which reacted in the month of January. Why? Because it was already happening in the market, and the actual trade was already got affected. So in the year of 2020, I have collected some few data. Maybe later on we will be able to share it. I have taken few data from various asset classes, including that equity market, silver, bullion, treasuries, dollar index, and all. And the thing is that in 2020, silver has given the most return of around 44%. So somehow it is the commodities classes which has given the best return in 2020. Nasdaq has given the return of 41%. I have taken the data from the open of 2020 and the close by 24th of December. So it was in nutshell, in top 5 or top 10 counter which have given the best return, we are there, copper is there, silver is there, gold is there, natural gas is there. So in 10 counters, we have 4 from commodities. So it is always important to diversify the portfolio. From last decades, we are saying the same thing, that it is the high time to divert the portfolio in commodities as well, because somehow it is it is giving a moderate return in all kind of economic cycles. And that is the beauty of this commodity complex. So in 2020, we have seen a major, that time we call it V-shaped recovery. So it was a major V-shaped recovery in equity market. But yes, we know that it was liquidity driven rally. Today, BSE has hit the 50K, and gold is just a few points shy about that 50K mark. So this is the time to rethink. Safe haven asset class, gold is touching the 50K, and Sensex is hitting the 50K. So this is the time to think that whether we are moving ahead in the same direction, or market is going to consolidate, or we are going to see a choppy market. And if we are going to see a consolidate or a choppy market, so this is the time to diversify the portfolio in commodities, because we know that this is the class which performs in every economic cycle. And agriculture commodities, it has shown this thing in a best way in 2020, which is we can say that this is the immune to the economic crisis in 2020, and we have seen a very good moderate or good return in agri commodities, especially in the essential commodities. So in agri commodities, we have seen a very good return of around 33, about 32 to 33 to 15% of return in all oil seeds, and we can say that in cotton, in castor. And yes, oil seeds and edible oil pack was the strongest performer in 2020, and still they are performing well because of that the less availability and the strategic reserve created by China, because the most of the world, it is thinking about the La Nina, and they are thinking about the supply side. Even if the world has enough grains, enough oil seeds, the supply situation is not good, and because of that they want to create the stocks in advance. So like essential commodities, they have given very good return, and it is expected that they will continue to good return in 2020. But yes, there is one counter which we were expecting, that this counter will give a very good return in 2020 because of to boost up the immune system, and now the consumers, they are very aware about the health. The spices counter is yet to perform in a very good way in India and across the world, and India is the major supplier for spices. So we are hoping that once the exports will get open, this counter may prove a dark horse for 2021. So this counter is yet to get performed in like in these kind of situations. And since Middle East, Europe, they are the major importer of spices. Once they allow or they will be able to import the spices from India, then we may see a very good price movement in this counter. The third is that, that is the most important part from the infrastructure side, and this is the base metals and energy counter. So in 2020, we have seen a very good return from gold and silver, and now they are the mainstream investment point, and we can say that in 2020, commodities came back in fashion. So like, I won't elaborate more about the Boolean counter because it was a hot topic for entire 2020, and it has given return of around 30 to 40% in 2020. But yes, there was a commodity, crude oil, which was was a victim of the inventories pile up and the panic in the market, and this is the most political powerful commodity. But yes, until unless we see the complete we can say that until unless tourism sector get open, we can't see a very good movement in crude oil prices. But in 2021, in second half, we may expect that most of the country, they will allow this travel and tourism. In that case, in 2021 second half, I can expect a good movement in crude oil prices. So one should stay positive about this counter in 2021 second half. And natural gas was a major driver for the energy counter. And the reason behind this was that yes, there was lesser demand from the like we can say that from commercial uses, but yes, household uses were up, and because of that we have seen a good demand returning in natural gas, and there was some squeezes in inventories, and because of that we have seen a return of around 25 to 30% in natural gas, 50 to 20% return in natural gas prices. But yes, the Indian market behaved differently in as compared to the international market, and there was a major reason behind that, because from last Diwali to last Diwali to this Diwali, we have seen around depreciation of 5% of INR in 2020. So this add on the premium in commodities prices. Because of that, we have seen that there is a better return in commodities in Indian market and as compared to LME, SHFE, and we can say that CME and all. And in base metal counters, there were two shocks: demand and supply side shock. So like demand was on a standstill when the pandemic was declared, but at the same time, supply was on a standstill. And it is not easy to supply, initiate or resume the supply in a simple way. So when demand increased on the lesser side, and because of that, we have seen that there is a surge in base metal prices in 2020, even in 2021. Many mines in South or North America, we have seen shut down in Indonesia, Philippines, and because of that, the tight supply situation from Indonesia and Philippines, we have seen that nickel was the best performer after copper, and it has given the return of around 25% in 2020. So I would just like to share about my view about the GDP. In 2021, everybody knows that we see the contraction, but in 2021, or IMF has shared its slides of GDP, and it is expecting that from 2021 to 2025, we will witness a positive growth, GDP growth, from 5.2% to 3.5%. It means that monetary policy is going to remain on the zero interest rate policy side. Physical policy will support the economic growth. And because of that, we have seen that the real GDP is expecting to be on the higher side in coming 5 years. So we can say that the commodities current cycle, which may start strongly in 2021, should continue up to 5 years. And why India is important, and how China is very important, we know that, and how India is going to be important, it is a very important discussion nowadays. So I have taken one data in which it has calculated the ranking of world on the basis of household final consumer expenditure. And because of that, we have seen that United States on the first position, European Union is on second, China is on third, and after like India is securing a sixth position in the world. So because of the stable government on and the aggressive policy, we are expecting a very good growth in our economy. And the next 2 decades, we can say that, or next decades, it is going to be a very volatile, very strong for India and strong for the world. So apart from China, India is going to be a next driver for commodities market. So we should not ignore the Indian economy and how it is going up. And I would like to share one data, because why we are talking about India. There was a time in 1997 when China was consuming only around the 15 to 12% of major, like I can say that the base metals, coal, and other commodities. In grains, it was only consuming around 17 to 20%. But in 2017, after 2 decades, China is consuming around 50% of the base metals, 28% of grains. We can say that more in coals numbers is even higher. So that in the similar pattern, we can expect that India is going to participate in the world in bigger way in coming decades. So demand demand is coming from India as well. And now I would like to give my comments sector wise. I would not give the price outlook for in this webinar, but yes, there are some factors which we should watch in 2021. Yes, GDP's growth is there. The fact is that global trade volume growth forecast is around, it should be higher by 5% in 2021, which was contracted 9.5% in 2020. So it is a very good and very strong data for commodity, because what is happening in the financial market now, even Mr. Shaktikanta Dasa, he's afraid of this, the one-sided rally in financial market. Even he is saying that this is not justified by the economic performance worldwide, because we are saying that unemployment is on higher side, liquidity is on higher side, debt ratio is increasing, and we are not at as per the pre-COVID era, but still we are making a new highs. So apart from happiness, it is a matter of concern that where the market will get a pause. But yes, equity is a leading indicator, it is a leading indicator, and commodity is, we can say that, not lagging, but it is following the equity market. So this is the real time when we may see the economic activities improve, and the data of global trade, it is depicting the same thing. And there is a fear that an outsized global recovery could inflate the prices. In the time of inflation, if there is a supply side squeeze, then we may see a major outbreak in prices in the commodities, which happened in base metals in 2008, before the prices crashed. It happened in crude oil prices. It happened in like turmeric prices. It saw the surge of around 10,000 rupees. So in this scenario of inflation, if there is any kind of supply squeeze, then we may see a major price eruption in the commodities prices. So we should keep in mind that. And the fact is that the challenge is that now China was leading the rally in 2020. Now there is a reimposition, or we can say that again they are in lockdown. So the country which is contributing around 50-40% of the total consumption, and it is in lockdown, so we may see a slower recovery in 2021, and we should not expect a one-sided rally in 2021. But at the same time, there is a positive factor that another country, US, India, they will lead the rally this time. And the reason behind is that like Biden, he has taken the oath yesterday, and the market and the economy, they are expecting that there should be amicable decision for US-China trade. And the trade war, which was the hot topic in last 2 years, it may take not a back seat, but yes, there should be some amicable decision among the countries. And like the sir was saying that there should be some agreement between Iran and US. And if it happens, it will increase the crude supply, because Iran and Venezuela, these two countries, they are only producing of the 40% of their total capacity. So if they increases the capacity, there should be a smooth supply side, and we may see a moderate kind of movement at that time in crude prices. So there are various factors which is impacting the commodities market. On bearish side, there are plenty of risk. Unemployment is there, PMI is still near 50, and we can say that the trade tensions in many countries, how they are going to tackle this is very important. Ultra loose money, because the movement we have seen in commodity, it is also backed by investment demand. The moment they will pull out the money from their fund, from commodities, we may see a kind of correction in the prices, and it may happen in equity, it may happen in commodity. So, but yes, that will be the time for concern, and that will be time of regrowth of commodities, because it will help many emerging nations to like reinvest in commodities, and it will make the recovery cheaper. We can say that like the commodities market volume, it is a very it is a concern for Indian market. But yes, I have taken the data, world data of commodities market, in which we have included commodity options and commodity futures. I will share my presentation later on. And it is rising on the with the CAGR of around 18.7% or so. It is an impressive data, impressive number for commodities market, and we are expecting that this should increase in coming days. Boolean counter is the counter which is going to give a moderate return in 2021, because it is going to take the benefit of doubts, because there are so many pros and cons in 2021. It is not going to plains in year where we may see like one-sided of rally. So in that case, gold will take the benefit of doubts. But yes, we are expecting that the boundaries will get open, and because of that, we may see improvement in trade data. And if the trade will increase, then there should be a limited upside in gold. And if we talk about the long-term chart of gold, it was in consolidation from 2012 to 2018. And after that, we have seen a surge. So at least we can expect that there should be a 3-4 years of rise in gold prices. And in 2021, we can expect a positive return in gold and silver. In crude oil, yes, many positive things are happening. Vaccinations are going on. From vaccine to vaccinations, we have seeing this transition phase. The stimulus is there around, like major countries, they have given 10% of their stimulus, 10% of GDP they have given as stimulus. But yes, the thing is that Mr. Biden, he is not very fond of this crude oil and fossil fuel. So he is going to restrict the users of fossil fuel, and he is very much concerned about this fossil fuel, and he will prefer the renewable energy in coming years. But this is not a very short time story. It will take years to get implemented. So in 2020, from US side, we may expect that there should be a supply side excuse in crude oil, because many of the oil companies, they have asked for subsidies, they have filed bankruptcies, and the US rig counts, they are working on 50% of capacity from their higher side. So from US, we can expect a limited supply of crude oil. And the important thing is that the energy mix. The energy mix is very important, and coal is contributing around 50-55% in many countries. So with this COVID, now major countries, they are more concerned about this energy mix, and they are going to prefer the renewable energy or natural gas prices uses in coming days. So yes, natural gas prices is going to be a commodity in coming years. And apart from natural gas, many commodities in base metals like nickel, lead, these two commodities are going to see a wonderful performance in coming years, because somehow they are performing, they are serving in clean energy environment and all, and because of the e-vehicles and all. Cost of production of crude is vary from Middle East to US, and it is higher in US because pumping crude from shale is really very high. But yes, currently it is moving around $50, and it is convenient for like all oil countries. So I'm not expecting that OPEC is going to more aggressive in 2021, and they will keep the production side as it is right now. So it is not going to give very much impact, and we can see a range. In 2021. And if we talk about the base metal side, base metals, it is expected to continue the rally. And the reason behind is that we should not expect that the production side should come pre-COVID era in 2021, because vaccination in India, it is only going to vaccinate 30 CR people in 2021. So there is some limitations, and the entire world is not going to get vaccinated in 2021. So we should not expect a very aggressive movement, aggressive rally in 2021. And even in 2022, we can expect that the vaccination process may get over. And because of that, supply side should be on tighter side in base metal counter, and it will take the benefit of that. And high stimulus and low interest rate is going to inflate the commodities prices. So one should adopt the strategies of buy at dip. and the 90% of incremental demand, I'm talking about the incremental demand. If there is a 100% increase in 100 tons of increase in base metals, then 90 tons it is coming by China. So if China is in lockdown in 2021, it may give some pressure on the commodities prices, or we may see a limited upside in commodities prices in the first half of this 2021. So mine production is lower side, and China is not
Vandana,
very
I
like.
request you to conclude. Request you to
Yes, sir.
conclude in a couple of minutes.
Okay, sure, sir. Sure, sir. So this was the last
please.
slides. It was the last slides. And in agri commodities, with many reforms in Indian market, Indian economy, and like many countries, they are trying to build their strategic reserve. Because of that, we may see another good year for agri commodities. So with that, I would like to conclude and hand over to the Chandrasekhar sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vandana, for this very extensive and also very incisive presentation on a wide range of commodities you took us through. Very, very interesting. Thanks for this. I'll now invite Gnanasekhar, arguably India's one of the finest chartists and technical analysts in India, to share his thoughts. After that, of course, I have some views to share on the crude oil market, on gold, on base metals, on agri, which I'll of course capture in a few minutes after Gnanasekhar finishes this. Then we'll also have a Q&A session. Gnana.
Thank you, sir.
Gnana, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I also have a presentation. I'll try and see if I can share the screen. I hope you're all able to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Since sir extensively covered the fundamental part, and Vandana also touched upon most of the fundamental aspects, and being the last speaker, I think I have just filtered out most of the fundamental thing that was spoken earlier, and I've just captured the gist just to sort of arrive at a price outlook for gold, silver, crude, and the dollar, most importantly, because that's going to dictate direction for most of the commodities going forward. So I'll be covering these 4 commodities and also touch upon base metals, but I don't have a slide for it. But we'll talk about the most preferred base metal that I'm looking at in 2021. I again don't want to bore you by talking about 2020 and pandemic, and I think we've heard this so many times. So let's look at what's going forward and what to look forward to from now. Having said that, I think we've seen amazing price movements in 2020, especially in crude oil, where it went all the way to a negative -35. Nobody could have believed at any point in time that a commodity price, the intrinsic value of a commodity price, can go below 0. But the financial markets have proved it wrong, because it's because of the rollovers and other factors that it briefly went below that and then quickly bounced back the next day itself. So what is predominant, or the important message that comes through in 2020 is, irrespective of fundamentals, once speculators decide to look at any instrument, whether it is a commodity instrument or an equity instrument or fixed income, they have the power to push it the way they want. I think that's a very clear message that has come through in 2020, and especially the crude episode has proved that funds have a huge role to play, and I hope they do it responsibly, because the industry gets affected in a big way when you have these kind of irrational price movements. So bullion has performed extremely well in 2020, and looks like it's going to do very well going forward in 2021 as well, simply because historically, the last 20 years, especially after 9/11, it has proved itself to be a commodity or as a safe haven, as like an insurance against any kind of uncertainty, whether it is economic uncertainty, geopolitical uncertainty, or any kind of uncertainty that way. It has proved itself as an asset to be when such uncertainties are prevailing. Now, the question is, are we going into the next couple of years or the years or the decade with no uncertainty at all? The answer is no, because you are going to have more and more uncertainties in different areas, and that is only going to keep bullion prices and the safe haven appeal alive. So there is a the underlying tone for bullion is still strong, simply because of the kind of uncertainties the world can throw at. And the safe haven element of bullion has reaffirmed itself over and over again. And I personally feel that it will only increase over time, and it could become the preferred asset to be in the coming decade. So it's one should not look at where prices are prevailing right now and think that we're already at a peak and possibly we could see a big fall. I think it'll only build up from here and continue going forward into 2025 also, and very gradually it'll start grinding higher from here. And I'm pretty sure that with all the uncertainties in the background and with the kind of stimuluses that are being provided by governments to recover economically, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that we're going to see higher prices in gold. So I've just picked up a few of the bullish drivers for 2021, especially relating to gold. So to me, the overvalued equity markets is one of the things that could push bullion prices higher. Simply because once the stock markets start falling, I think there's a lot of investors who will start running to the safety of bullion, because it gives some amount of stability and kind of an insurance when other assets are falling. So that and with the stock markets at the peak, it's very difficult to say where it will peak out, but I think we're somewhere near the top. Any major corrections there is going to see a lot of money moving into bullion as a safe haven, and that to me will be a predominant thing to watch out in 2021. And like I said, the safe haven buying is something which one needs to be very clear about, because it has proved itself, gold has proved itself that over and over again, safe haven buying is something which brings a lot of support. The safe haven buying comes not only from investors, it also comes from central banks. I think central banks also see that when you have currency debasement happening everywhere, then they also start buying to diversify reserves. They manage a lot of reserves in different currencies. So they start moving money into gold. And then the stimulus. I think the stimulus is not just about the stimulus which will result in more purchasing power, but the inflationary effect that it's going to cause is again extremely good for gold, because it's a very strong inflation hedge. Gold is a very, very strong inflation hedge. So stimulus and inflationary concerns are again key things to watch out for in 2021 as far as bullion is concerned. Now, the rising crude oil prices is also an important thing, because that will also increase inflation. But personally, I have a different view on crude oil prices, which I'll come to in the following slides. And then the geopolitical uncertainty. I think we only know about China last year, but God only knows what other geopolitical uncertainties that we are in store for in the coming years. I don't believe that the world is going to be at peace for the next 3 to 4 years. There is going to be a lot of geopolitical uncertainties that's going to come from time to time from different time zones. So bullion will serve as a wonderful place to park one's money. The percentage is always debatable. There is a school of thought which believes it should not be about 20%, because it's a zero yielding instrument, unlike equities, which you get a dividend, and in fixed income you get an interest. In bullion you don't. But the potential for it to rise is very strong. That clearly removes all these factors, and you focus only on the potential for return as far as gold is concerned. So there is immense potential for return because of all these positive factors that I've highlighted. So you need to keep all these things in mind when it comes to 2021. Now, what is the downside or what are the negative factors that could affect gold prices? To me, I think these are the three key factors that could play a role from time to time. But to me, I think these negative factors, though, can bring down the price to some extent. The fall will be short-lived, and prices will again start rising. And these are negative factors which will in fact help you buy on any dips. So when you see such factors coming in and prices going down, it becomes a wonderful opportunity to position yourself for the long term, because you're not going to get these prices again. I personally seen in the last 20 years, right from 5,000 rupees, where we are standing at 50,000 right now, it has grown from strength to strength. At 30,000, it struggled for a long time, but then it just took its time and then started moving higher from there. And now we're not even looking at 30,000. Similarly, we are somewhere near 50,000. It's just consolidating here. To get into the next zone, it needs a lot of triggers, and all the positive factors that I had highlighted will I believe that it could push prices in 2021. Now, the stronger dollar is something which could play a role in affecting the price. But to me, going forward, a stronger dollar is only a temporary phenomenon. It could get stronger in between, but the predominant trend for the dollar is weak, which I'll highlight in the coming slides. The rising yields is a problem because as much as you give a lot of stimulus, that's going to result in huge deficits, and the market, because of that, is pricing higher yields in the treasury bond market. And rising yields can remove some of the potential return that gold can give, because your cost of holding gold increases as the yields increase. So that could be slightly negative, but I feel all these factors again could have a temporary impact. And another thing is, though equity market fall will eventually support gold, the key thing is that when equity markets start falling, most of these investors, to fund the margins, will start using gold to fund their margins in equities. So these are the three factors I think could play a role to some extent in pressuring gold prices. But apart from that, if you look at the bullish and bearish factors, the bullish factors outweigh all the bearish factors. So fundamentally, it's very clear that we're heading into a very strong year for gold. So the technical view is that we've almost seen a 20% kind of an appreciation in 2020, and we would possibly see very similar 15 to 20% in 2021, or even higher, depending on the triggers that can come up in the coming year. But this is the minimum that one can expect in 2021, and with the downside being somewhere close to 5%. So if you look at the sort of a risk and reward that one can look at, the risk of prices going down is 5%, and the reward that one can get is around 20 odd percent. So clearly, we're looking at a wonderful price trajectory for gold prices going into 2021. But I'd like to touch upon another very important commodity, in fact, my favorite in 2021, and that will be silver. Now, silver is always, it kind of plays second fiddle to gold, because the people still look at it as a precious metal. But as a industrial metal, it's growing from strength to strength. Many people don't realize that a lot of industrial usage is picked up in silver. And with Joe Biden's green energy policy, there's going to be huge amount of silver usage in solar panels, and also in the electric vehicle market, because silver, which conducts heat and electricity the best, is used in EV to a great extent. in the electric car segment. So in these two segments are going to contribute big time. In fact, the last 20, 25 years back, photography was a place where silver used to be used a lot. Now it has come down to almost 10% where it was, the demand. And the entire demand is now shifted to electric vehicles and solar panels. And this, to me, is one of the best things that can happen, because it moves from a precious metal to a semi industrial metal. And with post COVID and with stimulus and all that, I think industrial activity is bound to pick up more. So I think silver prices are extremely well poised for a huge return in 2021. If gold were to move 20%, we have seen already in 2020, gold prices moved 20%, silver prices moved by 60%. So it moves 3 times. If gold is X, then silver will be X into 3. So that's basically what we're looking at. So in domestic prices, it might possibly cross 1 lakh or even more. We are right now around 65,000. I personally see it targeting around 1,20,000 at least. But the only deterrent could be the rupee, which could strengthen. And because of that, the domestic prices might not rise as much as international prices. And we also have some supply issues for most of the metals because of the COVID restrictions. So that's also adding on to silver's positive outlook. So silver to me is the pick for 2021, with a potential to possibly double from here or possibly even triple. But I don't want to be giving such a drastic outlook, but conservatively I'm looking at it doubling from where it is right now. So clearly that's one commodity that I'll be completely focusing in 2021. And this is the technical chart of it. You can very clearly see that it's just building up. It's waiting for a trigger and possibly go towards 35 initially. Presently, it's around 25, and then all the way back to $50 back in 2011 when it hit a high of $50. So I'm expecting it to test that possibly in this year itself. In international levels. In domestic prices, as I said, we should be at least double from where we are right now. So I'll move to the crude oil outlook. Like I said, I've not taken too much of fundamental data, but basically I've just taken the macro picture and the micro picture. The macro picture is clearly bullish. Bearish for crude oil prices, simply because the green energy policy and the way in which EV is emerging as a huge market all over the world is seen as a macro deterrent for crude oil prices going forward. Now, I've even heard of test flights of aircrafts happening in EV. Now, it might not be a reality for some time, but it's a very clear negative thing for crude oil prices going forward. So that's an underlying theme which is going to be negative for crude oil prices. But the short-term picture could be slightly supportive, because you have supply issues in many places. And OPEC is determined to keep prices supported by cutting output. And though the COVID demand has not really picked up, it's a very tight-rope situation that OPEC has to walk, because if they start cutting output like what they're doing right now, that will only benefit the shale producers, and they will start increasing production and they'll start taking more market share. So it's a fine balance that they have to walk. So I think my own feeling is they will not cut output going forward. And as the post-COVID developments change, they might even start increasing their output, because many members in OPEC are not in favor of an output cut. Many of them are waiting to sell at higher prices. That's going to be tough for OPEC to continue doing what they're doing right now. So having said that, we think we're moving into an environment where crude prices will struggle to rise after a point in time. Maybe it might rise another $5-6 from present levels, but that's it. I don't think it has potential to rise beyond that. And this price chart will clearly show you that it's tough, because it's been a long-term resistance at around $60-61. This is all NYMEX. I think the upside potential is limited to $60, and because of all the negative factors that I talked about, much later in 2021, possibly in the fourth quarter or third quarter, there's a good possibility that crude oil prices will ease back to around $30 or so, and that's basically what we're looking at from the technical side. And fundamentally also it confirms that the macro theme, which is still negative, is going to play out in the later part of the year. Now I'll move to the dollar outlook. I think that's more important, because that sets the stage for the entire commodity market complex. Again, the underlying theme is dollar weakness, simply because you have a huge amount of stimulus that's been given, not only here, elsewhere also. So that's going to result in dollar weakness. There's going to be a lot of carry trade that could happen. Carry trade is where people borrow in dollars at low interest rate and start deploying it in other asset classes like commodities, equities, and emerging markets, and so on. So that would see more and more dollar selling happening even in the domestic market. So when FIs bring in inflows, so they have to convert it into rupee and then start investing it in different assets. So a huge amount of conversions are going to happen. So that will basically result in a lot of strengthening in the domestic INR. So I'm seeing the underlying trend being the dollar weakness and major EM currency strength, which is already picked up. As of now, we've seen China appreciating so much, other Asian currencies appreciating so much. Only India hasn't done as much as other Asian currencies, simply because the RBI is determined to hold the currency here so that it benefits the exporters. And surprisingly, we've been black marked as a currency manipulator. One of the recent US reports say that Indian currency is being manipulated by the central bank, which means that they're artificially holding it from appreciating. So with that background, my feeling is RBI will not aggressively intervene because they know that they're already into the lens being watched by the US regulators. So huge EM flows, is something which we can expect. In fact, ahead of budget, I see a lot of inflows that are coming in, and we've already seen the way the stock markets are, going from strength to strength, purely because of the money that's coming in from overseas. So it's resulting in a lot of strength in the dollar, but it's being held artificially by the RBI. Now, when you look at the global dollar weakness, the most important thing that happened, in fact, yesterday, is Janet Yellen's comments, because she's come in as a new Fed chair. I think the key takeaways from her statement yesterday was the tough stance on China is going to continue. I don't think just because Trump went, the problems with China will abate. And then they have very clearly said that the US does not seek a weak currency to gain competitive advantage, which means that they would allow the dollar to get weaker, but at the same time they will keep a very close watch. And her primary focus, I think, is to revive with a major fiscal package and not to worry about too much of debt. I think the market is worried about a lot of debt. So I think that she'll go about giving more and more stimuluses. That's coming out very clearly. And the most important thing she's also mentioned is about tax cuts. I think she said that the tax cuts that were enacted in 2017 will be repealed. The Trump administration came up with tax cuts. So most likely, the super rich could be taxed and all that. So that could play a big role in bringing down the stock markets from a peak. So, these are the things that we should keep in mind when you look at the dollar outlook in total. So coming to the INR picture, the technical picture, there is a very if they give it off and then if it gives way, then we headed back to around 6 quarters. So I'm a little bit biased on the appreciating side, and I think we are headed towards 68 or somewhere thereabouts, with only a possibility of it depreciating to possibly 74, 74 half on the upside. So kind of a range we're looking at is 74 and 68 on the lower side. So that says that the dollar underlying theme is weak, and clearly that's going to support the commodity prices going forward. But again, in the commodity complex, you should be very clear that there are only certain commodities that are going to benefit from the dollar weakness, which will be precious metals and base metals to some extent. And in base metals, I think nickel is going to be the top pick simply because of the usage in EV as well as usage in the steel industry. So both are going to ensure that nickel prices, keep rising from here. So I would only look at nickel and copper to some extent. So these are the two commodities in base metals. And I'm not at all bullish in crude, looking at absolutely negative prices. Absolutely looking at negativity in crude going forward. And that's, going to be the theme. So positive on bullion, extremely positive on silver, negative on crude, mildly positive on base metals, and absolute dollar weakness. Thank you, sir.
Are you done, Jnana?
Yeah, I'm done, sir. Thank you.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jnana, for this very incisive presentation. Thank you very much. So we've heard two top class analysts and speakers of our country. As always, I'm going to take a contrarian view. I'm going to give different. After all, market participants need to know both sides of the coin. Okay, I'm going to first talk about the energy market, particularly the crude oil market. I see in 2021, the crude oil market will be in a state of deficit as a first proposition. The combination of OPEC output cut plus lower investment in US shale output in 2020, the rig count is not improving in the US substantially. Vaccine induced demand boost for transportation aviation sector. All this is going to combine to keep the energy market quite buoyant, in my view. Number one. Number two, I still see a bit of upside for Brent, which is currently at, I don't know, 55, 56 or 57. I don't track on a daily basis, but I'm sure it certainly has an upside. The new fiscal support that Biden is talking about is also going to encourage growth in the United States, and therefore that will encourage more demand. And therefore the market, crude oil market is 90% politics, 10% fundamentals. This is all of us know that, and therefore I am not bearish on crude oil market. My view, I respect the views of Gnanasekhar, I respect Vandana's views, but I want to share my thoughts. I am not bearish on crude oil because of the great discipline which OPEC and Russia together have shown in maintaining that discipline of output cut. US shale output is not going to pick up even WTI prices at about $50 currently. And the Biden administration is also not going to not going to favor, not go out of the way to favor the shale industry for various reasons, including bank funding, etc. And therefore, I don't see a big boost to US shale to compete with supplies. I'm throughout when fair.
Sir, can you put your video off?
Same go gas, revive industrial activity.
Sir,
Sorry?
can you put your video
Am
off?
I audible?
No, your net is
Okay, I'll put my
unstable.
video. No, I understand. Okay. All right. I think the same goes for natural gas because it's going to be driven by higher industrial demand. As economic activity starts to recover, I think industrial activities will improve, and therefore that will lead to higher natural gas demand. Therefore, when I talked about the year of two halves, I certainly did not have energy markets in mind. I had more of agriculture markets in mind, but I believe that energy markets will stay firm throughout 2021. On gold, again, I have slightly different views. The gold started the price boost was started because of a risk-off environment, because of lower economic activity and the pandemic. A combination of risk-off environment, weak US dollar, low US real yields, massive liquidity boost, all this liquidity infusion boosted gold and silver. But once economic activity again revives, may not even be to the pre-COVID level, but there's a reasonable revival of economic activity. My view is that gold's safe haven status will be challenged, and that combined with very poor physical demand. Let's be honest, both in China and in India, physical demand is completely subdued, and therefore with what is driving gold is actually a huge amount of liquidity that is available, and therefore when physical demand is weak, how long can speculative money, speculative investors hold the market up? And my own sense is once the stimulus package is given over the next few months, US economy will certainly start to show much better positive economic data, which will obviously help further improve the stock market, which will help improve the dollar can potentially strengthen. And all this can actually lead to a softening of gold prices. I'm not looking at gold prices. Don't see gold prices breaching $2,000 and staying somewhere at 2,200, 2,300. I completely rule it out. Nor is it going to collapse to $1,500 an ounce in the international market. So I think it could possibly be range bound. In my opinion, as for industrial metals, of course, China is the driver of the market. Obviously, from fourth quarter, China has economic activity has revived, and in the earlier the global value chains were disrupted because of national lockdown. Mine supplies were disrupted. And therefore and also the global electronic sector. Electronic sector is highly metals intensive, and that's had a bumper year. For all this together with China's stimulus package has created a huge appetite for base metals. For my belief is, in case of base metals, there is some more upside left for base metals. What is the extent, etc. I'm not discussing price outlook here, but the direction of the market is very clear. At least copper might possibly have overshot to the upside, but overall the base metals complex, I believe, has some more road to cover in terms of its price performance. But second half of the year, I strongly believe the stimulus package of China will start to fade, the positive effect will start to fade, and there could potentially be a correction in base metals. Because also, as the restrictions are lifted, lockdown restrictions, mine supplies will also improve. So mine supplies improve, effect of all that will base metal prices. I think this is how I look at the market. Yeah. Anyway, now the point is, other questions? What's the name? Selby, are there questions, Selby?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
We have asked people to post their questions, but questions haven't come in. If anybody, they can just raise their hands. They can just raise your hand. You can just raise your hands, and we will come to you to so that you can ask the question. Anybody?
Yeah.
Hello, anyone with questions? Please raise your hands. We'll come to you for the questions.
No, sorry. I was just wondering.
And as I said in my first presentation on agriculture commodities, obviously La Nina has had its effect. Prices will be firm in the first half, but in the second half there'll be the softness in most of the agriculture commodities: cotton, corn, wheat, soybean, palm oil, etc., etc. Yep, that's the year of the two halves. Yep. So I would also think, Selby, if there are no questions,
So there is one question. Just one question has come up. It is Chandrasekhar Guruji. Please give explanation about soya oil.
I don't know what explanation, but currently soybean production in 2020 in the US harvest in September, October was lower than expected. The South American crop prospects are not really great, both in Brazil and Argentina. And that is why soybean prices are high, soya oil prices are high. But there are other factors. Sun oil, there's a huge spike in sunflower oil prices, particularly because of drought conditions in Ukraine and Russia. In case of palm oil, slightly lower production or below production below expectation, both in Malaysia and Indonesia. And we are actually in the lean period for palm oil production. Jan, Feb, March is lean period. After April, I'm expecting a price correction in palm oil. Once the planting starts in the northern hemisphere, particularly North America, depending on the progress of soybean planting, and you can expect a larger acreage in soybean planting, soybean prices will start to soften, say June, July, August, etc. Provided the weather holds well, and that is the year of the two halves. Therefore, firmness in the first half, or at least until April, for the entire oilseeds and oils complex, but certainly correction coming after April, April, May, second quarter of the year, as far as the oilseeds and oils complex, global complex is concerned. Yep. So if there are no questions, I normally say that the speakers have left no one in any great doubt. They have explained the situation so well that there is no doubt at all. And therefore, I think with this, we will call this to a close, because these topics are so interesting. We can discuss for 1 more hour, but I think that's not the purpose. We need to share with the participants a capsule or a helicopter view of how the markets are likely to behave. And I want to thank, of course, Vandana and Gnanashekhar, but I want to request our boss, Tanil Bhai Kilachan, to propose a formal vote of thanks. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Chandrasekhar, and the esteemed speakers, to have given, as you rightly observed, a helicopter view of the commodity markets. Generally, people like us only look at the stock market index, Nifty and Sensex and Brent and all that. But today I think it's worthwhile also looking at the commodity prices movements and the way it gets reflected on the TV screen as well as in the newspapers. It is definitely an alternative investment proposition which both the speakers have conveyed, and I thank them both for definitely creating an awareness of the commodity markets. In particular, the mention about silver and gold, I think is quite encouraging. And I think it's people who want a hedge, is rightly observed by the speaker, do look at the silver and gold. I think beyond that, I think MCX has always supported these kind of seminars, and I'm very grateful to them because IMC and they have now an MOU, and we try to encourage as many awareness programs as possible. We have lined up also for the current quarter some more programs which will be conveyed in due course. Once again, thank you all, in particular Chandrasekhar, for having organized a very timely seminar. Thanks, everybody. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thanks for all the participants much for attending. Yeah. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to post or write to us at the IMC or write to MCX. We will respond to your questions. Maybe I think Anita, you can post your email ID, the chat box. And Silvi, thank you very much for, as usual, always so efficiently and methodically organizing this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Rima, okay, God bless.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.